Hello everybody, my name is Jared Volle and thank you for joining me for episode 1 of our creativity video blog. We are so early on in this process right now that we do not even have a name for our blog yet. But because we are this early, it is the perfect time to be tackling what is called creative naivete. And I'm going to be making probably a counterintuitive argument to you throughout this video about how we can embrace our naivete in order to increase our creativity and our productivity. Steve Martin summed up creative naivete best. He said, naivete is that wonderful quality that keeps you from knowing how unprepared you are for doing what it is you're about to do. And that quote comes from his autobiography, Born Standing Up. So let me show you the first benefit of embracing creative naivete, and that is that it allows you to begin highly ambitious projects right away. So let's look at the normal curve of, okay, this is time, and then your skill level. So high skill level, a long time, your skill level increases as time goes on. Okay, so pretty much everybody would agree with this. So you have early on, you're a novice, you don't know quite what you're doing, low skills, low time. As time progresses, you get better. All of this is obvious so far. So creative naivete is about not understanding what it is you're getting into. You don't understand the whole box. So everything outside of this red box is just an unknown to you. But it's different than just unknown because you're allowing it to be unknown. A lot of people that are starting here, yes, this is unknown to them, but they're freaking out about what might be beyond where they are. This is a source of worry for them, not an area to explore. So the person that is not embracing their creative naivete, probably the majority of people. So you start off here, and then what you do is you say, okay, I don't want to fail at this new thing. I want to be very good. So the first thing you do is you run off and you get resources. You learn, you say, okay, I want to get my skills up. So you go, you find a book, you find a resource, whatever it is. You learn some amount of skills in order to boost your skill level in the quickest amount of time. So what happens here is your perceived skill level increases. And I say perceived because it doesn't really increase because you're not actually applying these skills as you're learning them. You're increasing your knowledge, but you're not really increasing your skills. And there's a fine difference, but there's an important difference there. And so let me show you, whenever you're engaging in your creativity, then this is going to hold true. This is what's called a flow channel. A flow channel. And so let's see, we have skills on this side. So skills. And then over here we have the challenge. So we have the skills that you have acquired. We have the current challenge that you're facing. And same thing with here. If I have very high skills, then I can tackle a high level problem because I have the skills to back it up. So if let's say I'm very new in this industry, I'm right here. I have low challenge, low skills. Perfect, because there's a balance there. All right. So what happens here is you can get into flow because you have the ability to take action on the current challenge that you have. What happens here to the person that is trying to be a perfectionist, and they go and they read a book, they learn as much as they can about their current industry. They say, okay, that book was really good, and I don't know about you, this is what happened to me all the time. I read a book and I say, yes, I get this. But the book always leaves a couple other questions left unanswered. So then I have to run off and I get another book. I go find another resource, and I up and up and up and up my knowledge without really taking my skills to the next level. So here is the problem with this, other than the fact that I'm running around circles here, but I'm not actually getting anywhere. I feel like I'm getting somewhere because my knowledge is increasing, but A year down the road, you look at what you've actually accomplished, and that's where the pain really sets in, because then you realize, okay, I've spent a long time learning this stuff, but I've not spent enough time applying it. So, okay, let's say you are a perfectionist. You want to do a great job on this new project. So you worry about it, you work at it, you learn all these resources. What happens is your challenge, or your perceived challenge, okay, this is all just about what you're perceiving, not the actual reality. Your perceived challenge increases. All right, so you learn all these new things that you're not quite able to tackle yet. So let's just say, all right, you read a ton of books, and each book gives you another tactic, another thing that you can try. So 5 books later, you have a ton of these tactics. Let's say this is how to run a business profitably, how to start one, whatever. So each one says, okay, this is how to make a website, make a product, sell your product, market, do all this, distribution. So you have all these things in your head, and then you're upping the challenge in your head without actually upping your skill. So now what happens is, if I try to actually jump in and say, okay, I'm done with this loop over here, I'm going to jump in and start. What happens is, all of a sudden, okay, I generate an idea, and my idea satisfies those criteria, because my skill level is still not high enough. I had a huge challenge, but my skill level is still low. So I generate an idea, and I don't get this one. I don't get any of those. What happens is, a lot of the time, is that your brain interprets that as a failure. So what happens is you jump in, you try, and you say, my idea wasn't good enough. I'm probably not good enough. I'm not cut out for this industry. And you kind of get down on yourself that way. Okay, here's where things get really cool. So the perfectionist right here, they studied everything that they could. They figured out all these things, these problems that are going to happen down the road. But the person that is embracing their creative naivete, the person that is just okay with not knowing what could be in the future. They're just going to tackle the current problem now. That person, he knows his industry is maybe 5 dots. There's like 5 things he knows. Obviously, that is way too simplistic to be very effective within an industry. You're not an expert if you have such a simplistic view of the industry. But what is so interesting is what happens with these people. Both groups will jump into the first generation of the idea. The perfectionist group, let's call them P, perfectionist group, they try their idea, and they see so many different ways that their idea has failed. And they say, okay, there's no motivation anymore. They say, okay, I'm not cut out for this. They start having second guesses. They're self-conscious about their ideas. The group that is, the naive group here, the one that only had 5, they jumped in with both feet. They said, there's only 5 things. I can nail that. I can do it just fine. So they generate an idea. And, well, maybe even they don't even get this. Maybe they generate 4 out of 5. And they say, man, I am really good at this. They generate another idea. They figure out that 5th one. Then they're in this flow, and they generate an idea, generate more. And then what happens is, so let's say they start making their way up a little bit. So it's not an issue for them to satisfy those 5 criteria. So what ends up happening is that they need to up the challenge a little bit in order to stay in a creative flow. Oh, sorry, wrong way. So their skills have increased, but the challenge is still only 5 dots. It's not difficult for them. So their skills increase because they're generating these ideas that work. Then they say, okay, I need to up the challenge. So they boost the challenge a little bit, and they stay in this creative flow. So they're in this flow channel because there's always a proper balance between the current skills that they have and the current challenge that they're facing. So in that way, we have several benefits. First off, this person, they jumped in very quickly, highly ambitious project, but they allowed themselves to not know. So there's no procrastination there. Second, they didn't worry about everything that might happen, so they had a lot more fun while they were doing it. Third, they were what's called self-efficacious, okay? Self-efficacy is the belief that you are able to have a positive effect on your outcome. So if I want to launch a business, if I am self-efficacious, then I will feel like, yes, maybe I'll have all these problems, but I'll believe in myself, in my own ability to overcome those problems and to eventually be successful. If I am not self-efficacious, then every problem just seems like a huge deal, and I say, I don't think I'm able to do it. So it's very, very closely related to motivation. And in fact, anytime your motivation goes down, it's almost always a self-efficacy that is the issue there. So by allowing yourself to be naive about what is outside, you are allowing yourself to be self-efficacious, to jump in with both feet without worrying. All right, the last benefit that I want to get to is that creative naivete will allow you to master the low-level skills before you have to worry about these higher-level skills. So let's talk about like computer coding, computer programming, that kind of a thing. If you are trying to hear and you say, I really have to, before I jump in, I need to know everything that these advanced people are doing. Then, when you think about the highly advanced code that is out there, you're going to be completely overwhelmed. What is a far better strategy is saying, okay, I'm going to master these low-level skills first. And I'm going to be self-efficacious because I know I can master these. They're very simple. I can do it before I worry about everything that could happen in the future. So you're able to jump in much quicker. You're able to focus completely on mastering the low-level skill before you are worrying about the things that you might not be able to do later on. Okay, so I've showed you a couple of the benefits of embracing creative naivete in your life, but I do want to take one moment to acknowledge the most likely counter argument that you might be thinking right now. And that would be, okay, I understand that I can just jump in and I can not worry, but if I don't prepare, if I don't figure out everything that could happen, then I'm much more likely to fail. So let's talk about this argument. Are you more likely to fail if you're embracing creative naivete? Well, first off, I gotta say, the purpose of embracing creative naivete is not to be naive a month from now, a year from now. It's to allow yourself to take action early on. So earlier on, I said that here's the perfectionist and here is the person embracing naivete. Early on, the person that is embracing naivete is much more self-efficacious. He has much more motivation. So yes, he is overly simplistic. He has an overly simplistic view of the industry. But when you take these two strategies and you project them into the future, as I said earlier, the person that is naive is able to jump in and have early successes very early on, and that boosts their motivation. They say, okay, I can affect my outcome. I can tackle this problem. So what happens is they bump their skill level up, and then they seek new challenges. So eventually, they can get to a point where, let's just erase both of these. So eventually, they're tackling the exact same thing that the perfectionist was tackling, but they've boosted their skill level up so much over time that their brain is able to group all of these ideas together, and it keeps them. It's basically what you think of as intuition. The more your brain works with different concepts and gets to wrestle around with those concepts, the more your brain can say, okay, these are all linked together. I understand all of it. So now these, 7 ideas in your brain, they chunk down into only a single idea. And the same thing happens with each of these. So now you're in the exact same industry, but with more skill. You've worked with each of these so much that your brain understands how everything is linked together, and you no longer have to consciously think your way through each one. you can just say, okay, this one is marketing. I've worked, I've already put in the work with marketing. I understand what's working and what isn't. So your brain says, okay, I can keep that idea, all of them together in one place at one time. And I can keep all of the ideas of product development at one time. So there's 10 ideas, 10 ideas. So, but in your brain, if you're an expert, those are only 2 ideas because your brain has wired them together in such a way that it is able to understand all of it by using its intuition. So you can see that way, how in that way, the person that is embracing their creative naivete, they are much more likely to be successful in the future because they are allowing the skills in their current challenge to be in balance throughout their career, throughout the project, whatever scale you want to use there. So let me know in the comment section if you're agreeing with this. I would love to hear any of the counter arguments that you guys might have. And as I would say, as always, but it is episode 1, I would love to know what ideas you want to talk about. There's so much that we can do using this video blog that we're gonna go with some comments and see what people want to hear about, and then I'll just start making some videos similar to this one on the topics that you guys choose. So feel free to use the comment section to say, okay, these are the topics that I would like to hear. You can also use the comment section to help us name this show. That would be a big help. Also, if you are enjoying this, make sure you hit subscribe. And then you can also go over to our website. And we don't really have a website yet, but eventually we will. And then you can go there. Or you can sign up for our email list. And we do have an email list, but we do not have a sign-up form yet. So another issue for you there. But if you enjoy it, I'm betting that you'll stick around. Thanks. My name is Jared Volle, and this has been Creative Naivete.